by the end of 2021, the top 5 welterweights appeared to be squared off. The odd man out was Gilbert Burns, who was crying out for a fight.
Trying to stay busy. I was annoying Dana White in the UFC trying to get an opponent. I just asked for a fight already. I've been asking for a fight since after my last fight. I'm not asking for any particular name, just freaking send the contract and the date, I will sign it.
According to Burns, while the top 5 weren't available, the UFC also didn't appear to want to offer him lower-ranked fighters, which is an odd predicament, and basically relegated him to the role of spectator in the sport. At the same time, Khamzat was looking for that critical leap up in competition. According to Dana, and for very understandable reasons, finding that elite opponent was easier said than done.
Nobody wants to fight this guy. Everybody wants to get out on social media and say this and say that. But when it really comes down to it, nobody's trying to fight Khamzat Chimaev.
Following Khamzat's win over Lee, and fully aware of the welterweight landscape, Gilbert sensed the UFC were gonna come knocking, and had no reservations about embracing a challenge.
When he beat Lee Jiliang, I knew the hype was gonna get crazy and no one was to fight him. Then I don't know, no one was giving me a fight. I wasn't getting a fight. I was just like, I text Ali and say, I wanna fight this guy. I think they're gonna offer to me, so I'm already letting you know I wanna fight this guy.
And we've seen the DM,
yes.
We can confirm this.
We saw Gilbert with the timestamp from the day and everything else, right after the last fight with Khamzat and Li Jiangliang. He literally hits up his manager and goes, I want it. His manager goes, why?
Although there was obvious frustration, you have to give Burns credit here, taking on a largely unknown talent who looked to have all the potential in the world, had shown no real weaknesses, and for whom there was very little tape to work with. Khamzat would have been an easy fight for Gilbert to avoid, and possibly prudent to do so, if you consider it from those two perspectives, Khamzat's potential and the dearth of information. It was a tough assignment, but Gilbert felt he was the man to bring the hype train to a screeching halt.
And if things keep going like that, like with Kobe, don't even say my name in Masvidal, Leon, why not? I'll give opportunity for him.
And on multiple fronts, Gilbert was a perfect opponent for Khamzat, a guy with outstanding jiu-jitsu, who would have answers for Khamzat on the ground, and who had knockout power and would be prepared to throw down in a feat. I mean, technically, this is exactly what we wanted to see. Khamzat's wrestling had at this point ascended to superhuman status, but Gilbert invited takedowns.
I'm still not sure if he's going to wrestle right away. I hope so. I'm not sure.
Beyond the technicalities, Gilbert was ideal. I don't need to go through the stats again, but Khamzat had dominated in a manner we've never seen. He was carrying a shocking aura of invincibility, demolishing guys at 2 weight classes like they were amateurs. So it was critical to get an opponent who would not buckle under the weight of Khamzat's image or be intimidated by the mental warfare. Gilbert appeared extremely well placed on both fronts. In the lead-up, he spoke about the one time he felt the fighter had got inside his head.
Like you wanted to get at Kamaru, or you were like...
He said something on the pre-fight that got to my head a little bit, and then I was so mad that he got to my head.
What was it? Can you tell us?
I think Brett Okamoto asking, hey, so you got trained together so many times. So the coach saw that training, the training partner saw that training. They know who's gonna win, and then he said, yeah, for sure they know who's gonna win. And then I was like, oh, you see who's gonna win. Then the anger just kind of took over a little bit, and then I was very emotional. But I realized I'm out of control. I kind of felt that. It's kind of like a train going out of the trail, and it was very hard for me to go back to the trail.
But Burns was totally satisfied that it was a one-off. Now that's easy to say, but critically, he had done the necessary self-reflection and the required work with a professional to ensure he wouldn't be intimidated again, that he wouldn't lose control or be pushed off his game by words or ideas. In that sense, he made the most out of his loss to Usman.
I have a sports psychologist there. It was hard. Like, to be honest, wasn't quick. It was a process. I had to do a lot of mental change. First, I need to understand why he got to my head. You know, why did I feel offended because he said he's gonna beat me? Like, why should I feel offended on that? Because I wasn't believing myself or something. So I gotta dig very deep on that and understand why I feel uncomfortable with the guy saying he's gonna beat me. He's a fighter. I learned so much with that Kamaru Usman fight that it's gonna be very hard to get a guy going through my head and change what I'm thinking.
It was also clear that he regarded Khamzat in the very level-headed manner you'd expect from a seasoned veteran of the highest caliber. There were never points in the lead-up where Gilbert seemed to be exaggerating Khamzat's abilities, catastrophizing, are succumbing to the hype.
His wrestling is very good. His control and ground and pound is good. I believe he's very good. I don't see a monster, I see a human being, confident, a little bit cocky, undefeated, think he's invincible, untouchable, but we shall see. We shall see Saturday.
I'm not going to be afraid of this guy, I'm going to take his head off. I'm there to take his head off as well, It's not one man fighting.
We've heard this type of thing before, but with Gilbert, you never got a sense he was either trying to convince himself or that he was trying to find a false sense of security by diminishing Khamzat's abilities in any way. On the contrary, he was totally complimentary of Khamzat's skills and of his meteoric rise.
He's wrestling, I think, his best strength. For sure, he got power in his hands and he can grapple. I don't think he's the high level he's grappling, but good control, good ground and pound. I like that confidence that he has.
Where does Chimaev rank in terms of your toughest opponents on paper?
He's right there, top 5,
In general, Burns really comes across as very level-headed with a great perspective on the sport. He hasn't taken the ups and downs personally. He already speaks about the loss to Usman in almost entirely positive terms.
To be honest, I'm over that already. It was a very good experience.
I took that loss like a man, I don't have any hard feelings. So the fight was fair, square. I learned a very couple lessons on that fight.
He was also asked about the prospect of an Usman rematch, and he really didn't sound too pushed either way. He has his own goals that aren't tied to personal grudges or anything too emotional or irrational.
Does the story end in your mind going through Kamaru again? Is that important to you?
Not really. I have 2 goals in the UFC. First goal is to fight the best guys in the world, and I want to become a champion. Those are my clear 2 goals in the UFC. Doesn't have to be nothing against. I don't have nothing against Kamaru.
And he was asked where a win would put him in terms of the title picture. Again, very relaxed about everything.
I don't know. We'll see. I think everything depends about the performance. If I go out there and get a finish, I believe I earn it. Bro, no sad stories. If I don't, I'll fight another guy.
So Gilbert just doesn't really seem like he quite has the required ego to let the prospect of a loss to an elite fighter mess with his head. Overall, the impression you get is of a guy who was not inclined to get swept up or overinvest in hype or any extraneous distractions.
To be honest, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what people think about you. It matters what you think about you. So it doesn't matter. It matters what I think, what my team thinks, what my family thinks. They all believe in me. They all support me. So that's the ones that count. Not offensive to you guys, but the media, the fans, that doesn't matter,
What do I want my wife to say, my kids to say, my coach to say, my friends to say? I want it to be, man, that was a good performance. It don't matter if I lose, if I won. But man, you freaking show up and you did your best.
Mentally, he just didn't appear to be vulnerable and wasn't about to get manipulated into facing Khamzat the myth or the monster rather than Khamzat the martial artist. On top of that, Gilbert was acutely aware of the nature of the uphill battle Khamzat might be creating for himself.
The level of awareness, whenever you respect the guy, I don't think he has that right now. It's kind of a little super confident, a little bit of the ego, a little bit over the roof. I think they're gonna play on my side. Whenever he thinks it's gonna be an easy fight, the guy can do nothing. Boom, something might hit him, and then he'll be waiting. I do believe you're gonna make that mistake. You're gonna try to prove and show and come and hungry. And I think he might get caught on that.
In a number of ways, the 2 men were polar opposites, and it was the perfect contrast to best illustrate what would be Khamzat's major shortcomings at this point in his career, which were in both buying into his own hype to the point of overlooking elite opposition and this sense of obligation to continually justify that hype. Gilbert was so well placed to teach Khamzat that lesson, because outside mocking Khamzat's voice, in the build-up he never fought fire with fire. Instead, he fought fire with the perfect, appropriate level of respect for Khamzat as a martial artist. Chimaev, on the other hand, was talking about Gilbert like he wouldn't even be a speed bump. He'd tear him up like a piece of wet toilet paper. It was a critical difference between the 2, and this dichotomy was most obvious in the predictions of how the fight might play out. Listen to what both guys were expecting to face in the cage.
No, nothing. it's the same shit. You're gonna go in there, smash the guy, you know.
Is he the most difficult matchup that you've had so far in your career?
I don't think so. Not back and forth. I'm gonna go in the cage and like I do always and take his head and go home. What he did in this division, he lose like when it comes to Usman, he lose and start to cry, and he beat like old man who was like, you know, like what is his name, Damian Maia, almost 40-year-old. And he start to cry when he loses his fight. Nothing, he can't do nothing to me, you know. I'm gonna smash that guy. Hey, I'm gonna smash that guy, knock him out 1 minute, guys.
I'm taking him very seriously. I think everywhere is going to be tough. I'm ready, even if he puts me in a bad position, a couple things, I'm ready for this too. You know?
Perfect scenario, I'll go there and take that guy out with a punch, boom, knockout. But I think it's going to be a war. I don't think it's going to be that easy. I think that guy's a dog. He's going to come hungry. Or both are going to be bleeding. It's going to be tough, but I don't believe he's going to the judges.
Khamzat was talking about himself like he was already the greatest of all time. Now, to be fair, there's nothing new here, and he has to do that. I mean, his combination of flawless performances and his brazen attitude is what's made him so popular. He'd be a fool not to take advantage of that. But you'd always like to hope that he wouldn't get wrapped up in the hype himself and lose sight of the nature and scale of the challenge in front of him.
I'm already the champ. The guys doesn't want to fight me. I'm ready. I'm already the champ. People know that. Leon Edwards, nobody know that guy. Usman, it's the same, you know. Nobody want to see that guy. If they give me both guys same night, I'm going to smash them both.
While Gilbert was already at peace with letting the chips land where they may, Khamzat not only needed a win, but he had talked himself into a position where he needed to dominate. He was now bearing the weight of his own reputation to the point that not only a loss, but even winning a war was completely at odds with the image Khamzat had cultivated. If Khamzat succumbed to his own hype and the pressure to maintain that image as a devastating, unstoppable force in nature while facing such a steep incline in competition, then there was always a risk he was gonna run headfirst into a brick wall of elite fucking talent and the never say die hard of a champion in Gilbert Burns. And that is exactly what happened. As soon as the bell rang, commenced the fireworks. Khamzat moved forward like a rabid dog and was met by the equally ferocious temperament of Burns. Chimaev did get an early takedown, but quickly abandoned his grappling in favor of trying to knock Gilbert's ass out in the feet. And from there, it was a rock'em sock'em all-out war. Khamzat got the knockdown in round 1. Beautiful jab drop Gilbert. Round 2 was huge for Burns, who seemed to rock Khamzat early on. A minute later, Chimaev hit the mat. Khamzat began to look frustrated in this round. Right at the end, a huge shot wobbled him, and moments later he was down. The bell broke up the action, but Khamzat expressed his frustration, slapping Gilbert between the rounds.
Oh my goodness,
It was all down to the third. Khamzat continued to press forward, back Burns up to the fence where he hurt Gilbert, and really poured on the pressure. But a bloody and battered Burns persevered. The two continued slugging it out, a blood and guts war. In the final minute, Burns, obviously sensing the round had gotten away, unleashed a number of huge shots. He threw everything he could muster into those final moments, but it wasn't enough to stun Khamzat, or ultimately enough to salvage the round. Amazing fight. Both men had given their all and put on a spectacular show, but all three judges had the fight 29-28 in Khamzat's favor. It wasn't pretty, it was not easy, but most importantly, through sheer grit and determination, Khamzat emerged with his undefeated record intact. Outstanding fucking fight. There were moments where it looked a little like the wheels were coming off. His coach would later call it a messy performance. And yeah, it was a little sloppy. You could look at it as, if Khamzat is pushed, he will buckle, and some of the technique will go out the window. But at the same time, he was exhausted. It looked like he'd been rocked more than once. It was his first elite opponent, and it was the longest fight of his career. So really, this was a guy doing whatever he needed, throwing whatever he could, messy as it was, to drag his ass over the line and secure the victory. And by doing that in a fight like this, he did dispel some of the bigger concerns. He's not a front runner. He got hit, he got rocked. He looked for a second like he was on the verge of defeat. But but he persevered and regained his momentum against a formidable talent. So we don't have to worry about this guy's heart. And we got to see his cardio tested. It doesn't quite look elite yet, but he did win the third, and he hurt Gilbert in the final round. So although he faded a little, he's certainly not dead in the water after 10 minutes, and that was at a vicious pace. You would wonder what the top two are thinking. Usman and Covington are both cardio machines. It might be to their advantage to look for the Khamzat fight before he's got 5-round experience. If you don't have 5 full rounds, Colby and Kamaru drag opponents through hell. So strategically, maybe they'll start looking for that fight sooner rather than later.
At the end of the day, I hope that we get Colby, and then once we've, with God's help, we win that fight, then you say we get the winner of Usman versus Leon. Yes.
I saw that Ali, your manager, Ali Abdelaziz, said that that he thought now was a good time for you to fight Khamzat.
He's gone out there and he's beat the number 2 guy in the division. He got the W. So it's very difficult. It's very difficult for me to say, no, he doesn't deserve anything.
Right.
No, he's went up there. He's gone up against Gilbert Burns and he was able to go out there and do what he needed to do. That's the fight, then that's the fight. If that's not the fight, then that's not the fight.
In the aftermath, Khamzat said he loved the war, but it was mixed emotions. Despite the win, he must have been aware that after such a hellacious contest, he wasn't going to be carrying the same aura of invincibility into his next fight. And he was disappointed for his team.
Nice, I loved it, I was waiting for that war a long time. It wasn't my best I could do, my boxing much better. I feel sorry for my coach, I didn't my best. But you learn, come back and smash everybody. It wrong for me from the beginning. I tried to knock him out. My coach said to me, start slowly, work with your jab, but I just go in and just did some crazy shit,
Weeks later, Khamzat's coach gave a funny summary of his performance.
He goes in there and he tries to knock the guy's head off, from the first moment. The plan was to just box him, keep the jab going. That's the way to handle that situation. He did absolutely everything we didn't work on. And he just wanted to show the people, listen.
One of the more interesting moments was when Khamzat was asked if he felt he'd done enough to win 2 rounds. He kind of shut that whole question down, almost as if the most important detail in a fight that goes a distance wasn't even worth considering.
Were you concerned at all with the decision that you may have lost, or were you confident that you had won 2 rounds?
I don't care. You care about that shit? I care. I don't care. I get my money. I get my 50 G's. Gonna go home and rest it a bit, meet my mom and eat his food. Gonna come back and work hard, kick some ass.
It just seemed he really didn't like being presented with the fact that this fight was on a razor's edge, and especially with the idea of him losing. It's understandable under the circumstances, because that idea, more than anything, undermines the image Khamzat had built. So instead of addressing it, he basically dismissed it. It was not the fight he expected, and I'm sure it's taken a little time for him to process that fact. But he did show Gilbert a lot of respect. In the post-fight, he admitted he was tougher than he had expected, and he thanked Gilbert backstage.
Tough guy, bro. I didn't know he was so tough, but the guy come up with Brazil hard, I know Brazilians.
It was hard to fight with you, I love you, brother. Thank you for everything. Good fight.
He also made a funny point about finding it a little difficult to fight Burns.
Actually, it was a little bit hard to fight him because I see his kids, you fight my daddy. I say, shit, fuck, I don't need that shit. I don't want to fight with some daddy. I need some killer like me, kill somebody and don't care about that shit,
Now, all due respect, but based on the performance, it certainly didn't look like Khamzat had pulled any punches. It looked like if he had a shovel, he would have happily buried Gilbert under the cage that night. But most critically, he was immediately aware of what appeared to be his biggest hindrance heading into this fight, his own monstrous reputation. Very promising to hear Khamzat have his finger on the pulse so quickly.
Now I have to work a little bit smarter, think what I'm gonna do in the fights, because all my fights I finish early. This fight is gonna take me to other level, a lot of things to learn. I was too excited to knock him out. I was say to everybody all week, gonna knock him out, gonna knock him out. I tried to knock him out. That was wrong for me from the beginning. The guy was tough. I didn't accept that. It would be like that. But from first second to last second, I had to try to finish him. Next time I'm gonna work a little bit smarter and gonna smash somebody.
Weeks later, Gilbert reflected on the fight. Now, although I agree with the decision, you could forgive Gilbert for feeling unlucky here. But he didn't go there. Instead, he praised Khamzat and was disappointed he let a defining victory slip through his fingers.
I believe we were super close. I don't want to take nothing away from Khamzat. He was a warrior in that year. I just believe we're not done. We gotta do this again. Even if I think it was fair, it wasn't fair. I don't want to take no credit from those 15 minutes. It was genuine. Was a lot of heart. Was a lot of intensity. The fight was very winnable, right? It was very, very winnable, and it lost. That's my feeling. That's my thing. That was very winnable and I lost because of a couple of details. So that's what made me mad. I'm happy. I'm a happy person. I'm happy with my performance. Happy that I got a bonus. Happy the defense liked it. Happy with the publicity. But it was a winnable fight and I lost.
Gilbert gave a very fair and unbiased appraisal of that crucial final round. And again, there's just no real ego here, obscuring the fight. He saw it for exactly what it was.
If I had done a little bit more stuff, I think he could get a win. I was the one that threw more shots in the last round, but I got hurt in the last round. I remember it was very wobbling, and he gave me another shot that kind of woke me up, and then I got back, and I was throwing a lot of bombs.
On top of taking a loss extremely well, he didn't have a sense of entitlement to an immediate rematch. He was realistic about when that fight might take place. Considering he'd just given Khamzat a huge opportunity and pushed Khamzat to the limit, this was pretty gracious in defeat here.
We gotta fight that again. Maybe I respect that he might fight Kobe, and maybe with a win, maybe tomorrow. But I want to fight this guy again. You know, he gotta be my next. One of my next 3 or 4 fights, I gotta face this guy again.
In this fight, neither fighter got exactly what they wanted, but it's probable they both got what they needed here. The biggest issue on the mind of Burns was that he didn't want to slide back into limbo as a forgotten spectator in the sport.
Yeah, and I do believe I earned a big fight next. You know, and for sure with that risk was little steps backwards, going towards the champion to a title shot. Now I got to do a little bit more work. But with that being said, with all the risks in the way I fought and the way I conduct myself in and out of the cage, I believe a big fight next, and that's what I'm looking for. You know, I think I'm gonna try to sit down with Dana this week. I'm going to Vegas on Thursday.
At UFC 273, Burns got a ton of exposure and put on an incredible show in what was regarded by many as the main event on a stacked card. That was a gutsy, balls-to-the-wall performance, and exactly what the UFC liked to advertise. And he gave Khamzat, the UFC's biggest potential star, the chance he needed to enter title contention. So hopefully, opportunities abound, and all that translates into a quick turnaround against a big name. And for Khamzat, he wanted to dominate, but he probably needed a serious reality check as he moves up in competition. As his coach said,
I'm here, I'm going to walk through this guy. But there's a reason why these guys are there. Like the number 2, number 1, the champions. They're there because they're fucking tough, you know? They're tough dudes. Respect to them, you know?
It's just an added bonus that it was Gilbert in the opposite corner. Because as I said, that was a dichotomy that really highlighted the type of level-headedness and respect Khamzat might need to cultivate moving forward. Even if he doesn't verbalize it in interviews or the media, you'd have to imagine he won't be coming into any future fights with the type of hubris that would see carefully crafted game plans flying out the fucking window in favor of unbridled chaos. Gilbert was a perfect example of how to approach and regard the very best fighters on the planet. At this level, these guys represent danger, and now Chimaev is fully aware of that fact. So as both a stern test and a critical lesson for Khamzat, Gilbert Burns was excellent in this whole thing. Both guys really put on an amazing show here.